You're listening to Blast Podcasting, episode 15.
DC Animated Universe. Hey guys, this is Anthony.
This is Xander.
And here we are again at 15 episodes. I was just, like, right before we were recording, I said, fuck Xander, we're already at 15.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? 15 episodes. You're like 15 hours of us talking.
Yeah, I know. But we've had a crazy ride so far, and we're approaching the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
But can I tease it a little bit?
Oh yeah, definitely.
We have something special. And for those that have followed my channel, it's a remake of something that I did that was really popular on my channel. Right?
Indeed. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited to do it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Very, very interactive with our followers and listeners. And so what have you been up to, Anthony? It's been a little while since we did a little podcast.
I know we've been busy. You've been busy. Got a lot of work to do and planning for a trip, from what I understand. So
yep, I'm going to be going to Kansas City in a week from recording this episode. I'm going to be going there. And, one of the pit stops that me and my girlfriend's actually doing is this place like in Metropolis or something like that. It's like a Superman city. And it is so freaking cool. They got like this huge Superman statue and everything's Superman themed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. That's where Superman was created, though, right?
Yeah. It's going to be
81 years.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really crazy. So I'm looking forward to that.
So, two things I want to talk about real quick.
Yeah.
60 hours in Enter the Gungeon.
60
hours in that fucking game.
I was about to say, every time I go on the Switch, I see you log in and it's like Enter the Gungeon. And I'm like, oh man, Anthony's playing. But then again, if you go on mine, it's always Super Mario Maker 2. Because me and my girlfriend collectively have spent over 50 hours on that game.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I have Fire Emblem. And I still play Enter the Gungeon.
Oh, man.
But I love that game. I love roguelikes. I know they're not your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you compare it, a lot of people compare it to Binding of Isaac. I think this game's leaps and bounds over Binding of Isaac.
Yeah.
I just think it is. And, man, every time I play it, I always discover... It's so weird. Like, lately, for whatever reason, there's a place that heals you now.
Huh.
And it's funny. This is a Zelda joke. You go in and there's these two like vampire ladies, and they'll be like, "We need to do surgery." So what they do is they take a bottle with a little light in it, and they hit you over the head, and the fairy comes and heals you.
That's funny.
That's surgery. It's got a lot. That's the thing that's nuts about this game. Like I mentioned in our Google Hangout chat that we have with mutual friends, that I found a gun that's shaped like Mario bricks, and they shoot Koopa Troopa shells.
That is so cool.
The guns are so fucking crazy. There's one that I used today that shoots planets.
Like straight up solar systems.
Yeah, it shoots like planets, yeah. And, I mean, just some of the guns are fucking weird. I mean, I can't describe all of them, but some of them are just so bizarre. But it's such a cool game. And I remember playing it back in 2016 on the PS4. And I liked it. But on the Switch... It's just one of those things where it just feels better on the Switch.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
It's a pretty solid portable game, and I mean, it's old school in the sense that it probably isn't very long itself to get to the end of the game, but it's one of those games where you relearn and relearn and relearn. And I'm at the point where I can get to the 4th dungeon pretty easily, but that's when everything goes to hell.
Yeah.
But even at that, sometimes I'm in the 1st dungeon and they'll throw something out that I've never seen on that 1st dungeon.
Yeah, I think that's what's the attractiveness to roguelikes. It's one reason why like it's not my favorite genre. I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite genre.
Right.
It's because I like the kind of consistency when I'm playing a game. Like I don't like all the randomness, but a lot of people like that because it's almost like every dungeon feels new because it's all randomly generated. I
love randomly generated dungeons. That's why I've always been a big fan of what you would call it, Diablo.
Yeah, Diablo. I
But
was just about to
Diablo's
say
not
that.
roguelike. Yeah, Diablo's not roguelike though. You can set it up to be roguelike though. What else? The Persona games, but they're not roguelike. But yeah, the dungeons in those games are usually random.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just like that element. And Enter the Gungeon is, I'm thinking at the end of this year I might do a video or ask you to do something, the 10 best games of the decade.
Yeah.
And that game's surely going to be on that list for me.
Nice.
It's one of the best indie games. And remember, I don't know if you probably know about this, but they even have, I think the game is so much of a success that they're making a light gun arcade game based out of it.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. I was just about to ask you because I think it was from you that I heard the news about an arcade port of Enter the Gungeon, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah. I mean it must have a following for it to register on that level to even be made into an arcade game.
That is really cool. Now, what I was going to say, and this is kind of segue into a different topic, but it kind of segues to our main topic. But I wanted to hear your thoughts about this because I was reading about the new Joker movie that comes out in October. And this has kind of gotten some folks divided because this Joker movie is actually not going to be related to anything that DC's done. This is going to be a standalone Joker story. And it's kind of interesting because I feel like folks have gotten so used to cinematic universes that they're kind of thrown in a loop being like, why is this not connected to anything? When to me, this is almost like a graphic novel made into a movie in that sense that it's not connected to anything whatsoever.
It doesn't need to be connected. I don't think this movie does. I think people are getting here's the problem. I think people are too much focused onto this new serialized movie format that movies need to be connected in this universe. Do they really? Yeah. I think film is the thing with film isn't designed that way. Television is. Novels are. But I don't think film was designed to necessarily be serialized. Now, of course, there are the serials that were done in the 40s and the 30s, but those were like two half-hour segments of a full movie.
Right.
But these days, everything doesn't need to be connected. I mean, standalone films, like Akira was my favorite movie of all time. It's just that story. That story. I don't need, the Neo-America or some shit connected to it. It doesn't need to be connected. And I think with the DCEU, I didn't mind the connection to it for a while, but I think because of that's a whole other topic that I won't even get into. But the approach now is a little bit better because it could really just be standalone. Not everything has to be the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if you really want me to, I can point holes. There are so many fucking plot holes in that Marvel Cinematic Universe that it's really not connected that well together. The only thing that really connects those movies is some fucking end credit scene or someone cameo. And don't tell me I'm not. If someone gets mad and say, "Oh well, he doesn't know what he's talking about," no, that's the goddamn truth. Yeah,
no, I agree. A lot of the movies, like you said, they don't have to connect, and I think DC not connecting to a universe makes them different than Marvel, and I think they tried to do that, and they realized, hey, I think they can agree when we don't want to be saying, hey, DC is trying to pull a Marvel. DC is pulling a DC. There should never be comparisons between those two. They're their own entities. They have their own feels. I mean, the Marvel comics are very different than the DC comics. And I'm really looking forward to the Joker movie. I think it's going to be really, really cool. It's going to be really interesting to see some of the folks who got into the superhero genre from the cinematic universes of Marvel to see their reactions to Joker, because they're going to be wanting to see a Batman, they're going to be wanting to see this, they're going to be wanting to see that, they're going to be wanting to see how it's going to connect to the Batman trilogy that's going to be coming out later on, which doesn't connect whatsoever, but they don't know that because it's not a headline on a news article. So it's going to be interesting to see people's reactions to these sort of things, but I'm a big Joaquin Phoenix fan. I think he's going to kill it as the Joker. I am so excited about that.
I think so. I think so too. Hey,
Yeah.
we're almost 20 years since Gladiator came out.
Oh yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
That movie's great.
Oh yeah.
That's the
It
first
is.
time I really noticed him. Real quick, before we go on, this is still it's DC related. I guess it's kind of not. I've been reading the IDW Ninja Turtles comic. This is kind of a follow up from last year.
Oh yeah.
But not last year, last episode.
Yeah.
Man, I'm about 16 episodes in. I have read these 16 episodes, but I for issues in and I forgot how good this comic book is.
I'm gonna check it out.
I'll help you out with that. We'll talk about it after the recording. But it's real. Here's the thing about the IDW comic. It's my favorite interpretation of the comics. I think we talked about it last week a bit, but I recommend it. It's just so good, and it's not like a lot of. And sadly, Marvel Comics isn't very good in my opinion because they put too much agenda-driven comics. This is just old-fashioned Ninja Turtles done with a little bit more of a mature tone to it, and it's highly recommended. And man, somehow they took these goofy elements like the Technodrome, the way they're doing that, the way they do Krang. It's just pretty fucking awesome.
That's awesome.
I've been told I really do need to watch the Nickelodeon cartoon because they say that's the best one, the CG.
I was about to say, do you have Hulu?
Yes, I do.
You can see that TMNT show, the Nickelodeon show, on Hulu right now. And I would recommend it. What I like about that cartoon, because I'll tell you, like when I first saw the pictures of the cartoon, I thought it looked goofy as hell. Like the CG just looked really weird. I'm like, I don't know if I want to see this, And I watched it, and this is what I like about that show. They take all the elements, like, at the time it was like 20, 25 years of Ninja Turtles. They take all those little elements and they make the show. They have so many Easter eggs. Like they when they brought back Spike, they had Corey Feldman doing the voice of him. Little things like that. They have, the voice actor who did Raphael, he does the voice acting for Donatello. It's like little things that are like, hey, you grew up watching this, and you're watching this with your kids. We notice you, and you're freaking awesome for showing your kids this cartoon, this little Easter egg. And that's what I really love about it. And the storytelling. The story is really, really good.
And it's kind of like what the IDW comic does. Mm-hmm. Too. The IDW comic does the same thing, but the thing is the IDW comic is a bit more mature, whereas the Nickelodeon probably isn't. But I'm not saying it's downplay. I really do want to watch it because they can do different Easter eggs, like you said, with voice actors. You can't really do that in the whatchamacallit, the comic book. So
I would say that show has the same kind of feel as the CG Ninja Turtles movie. It has that feel to it when it comes to its childlike behavior. Like, it's not campy, but it's not dark and gritty either. It's just wholesome, good fun.
The one show that I'm not familiar with Ninja Turtles too much is the 2003. I know we talked about that last week, but I will say this, though. The 1987 cartoon that we grew up with, it's unwatchable.
It really is. It has not aged well.
It's bad.
A lot of it is nostalgia, and even the animation was really bad. Like, I went back and watched a couple of those episodes a couple of years ago, and I forgot how bad the animation was. Like, parts where Raphael had a purple bandana and was moving his lips and Splinter was talking. I mean, it was pretty bad.
I saw one where April and that one guy, they get captured by mobs, and they're going to torture him, but they torture him by tickling them. That's how stupid that shit was.
Yeah.
Mobs, it was so. And then pizza's mutated into monsters. What the fuck?
Yeah, the monsters look like freaking xenomorphs from Alien.
I don't know who's more incompetent in Cartoon Land, fucking Shredder or Skeletor.
Yeah.
He's so, like, that's the funny thing about those old cartoons. The villains were so incompetent.
Yeah, they were idiots. Well, that's what I even felt really bad about, too, about the 80s cartoon. Is Shredder was ultimately a sidekick to Crane. Like, Shredder had, like, no backbone whatsoever. You watch the first couple episodes, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is Shredder. And then once Crane got in the picture, he was just, like, a whiny, like, sidekick. Like, he wasn't even a main villain, in my opinion. It was all about Crane.
Yeah, the show was bad. But, hey, We got better cartoons and comics these days.
And I was about to segue to our main topic. And since we're talking about cartoons, we cannot talk about the DC animated universe without talking about the cartoon, in my opinion, that opened the floodgates to this whole universe. And that, of course, was from 1992, Batman the Animated Series.
Yes.
Now,
that was...
I was about to say, Anthony, can you tell me your first experience watching this show? Because I have a pretty good story with mine.
I watched it when it premiered.
Yeah.
I was, 9? This is, 92?
Mm-hmm.
So I watched it. They had a special preview. So the first episode they showed was actually the Cat and the Claw, which was the Catwoman episode. And at the time, I remember there was a lot of cross-promotion because Batman Returns had come out that summer, too.
Yeah.
So it was all debuting conveniently. And I remember watching it, and that cartoon premiered at the same time that X-Men did. And both of those cartoons at the time, particularly more so X-Men than Batman the Animated Series, at the time were pretty grown up for different reasons. Batman dealt with some pretty heavy shit. It was darker. It appealed to me because I had never seen a cartoon like that. And X-Men had a continuing story. Whereas Batman Animated Series had a loose continuity. Like, for example, early episodes, Harvey Dent's Harvey Dent. But then once he becomes Two-Face, he's Two-Face.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But, yeah, that's pretty much was my intro. And it's what got me into comics. Because I ended up getting into comics because of those two shows.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was like such a magical time. Because, I watched the debut as well. I was pure in, like, just Batman mode. Like, I loved Batman. Like, I had a Batman book bag, I had a Batman lunchbox, I had the shirts, I had the toys. I remember I had just got done seeing Batman Returns. I hear about a cartoon. And, I had watched superhero cartoons beforehand, like Super Friends and stuff like that. And, I was expecting... Even as a kid, I expected the Batman cartoon to not be as gritty as Batman Returns. Because when I saw Batman Returns, I knew that there was parts in that movie that I probably shouldn't have been seeing. Like in some of the innuendos with Penguin, when he was like putting the button on the girl's boob and stuff like that. Like I kind of had like a weird feeling like I probably shouldn't be watching this. But so I had a feeling that the cartoon was going to be probably more for my age. But... I watched it, and it was like there was like so many dark overtones to that show. And one of the things that I love the most about the Batman animated series, and I feel like no cinematic Batman has ever done this, and that is tapping into Batman's detectiveness.
Right.
We have not seen one Batman movie. I mean, other than maybe like Batman Returns when, he's like doing some digging about Penguin and kind of sabotages his campaign. That's kind of like a detective thing. But we would have full episodes of Batman animated series that were pure noirs. Like they weren't even action. So, yeah.
I'll argue one thing with you. Have you seen Batman v Superman?
Yes.
Okay. The scene in Lex Luthor's party, that's detective work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, there is that scene that's a pure detective Batman scene right there, and then he runs into Wonder Woman. But I digress. Anyway, but I agree. Most, like the Nolan Batmans, which I think are overrated as fuck, they focus on him being tortured too much than the detective skills.
Yeah.
And you need a balance of that. And I think Batman the Animated Series did such a good job. Like you said, there would be episodes that would focus on it. And then there would be episodes like Scarecrow episodes in particular that would show the tortured Batman.
Yeah.
There were episodes that didn't even feature him much. One that I really like is The Man Who Killed Batman.
Oh, yes. I was about to mention that episode. I was going to get into like what's our favorite episodes. And that's probably my favorite episode, especially with Joker's monologue.
That's one of them. One of mine. That's not my favorite though. Almost caught him.
What's that episode?
Yeah, it's something like that. Almost caught him or something like that. Fuck, it's an episode where like the several Batman villains are playing cards. And they tell stories about how they almost got Batman.
Yeah, that was a good
Yeah,
episode.
that's one of my favorites. There's some that focused on the Gray Ghost is another one that's really good,
Oh yeah, with Adam
and
West.
it's real meta too because Adam's like if you really look into it, Adam West's career was much like the Gray Ghost guy's career. He
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't embrace Batman, but his career was defined by that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that show was so smart for a kids show. In an era that we just had mentioned, villains were incompetent. Batman the animated series, villains were not incompetent.
Right.
They were not stupid.
And they had a lot of depth to them. I mean, you can talk about the 2-part episode of the beginning of Two-Face. You can talk about
That's a good one.
you can talk about Clayface. It was like every time they introduced a new character, they had some sort of like reasoning that didn't feel like I said in the previous episode when I was talking about Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they weren't introducing characters to sell action figures.
No.
Yeah.
No. And they did sell action figures.
Yeah, they did.
And they did sell a lot of Batman ones, but the show wasn't designed that way.
Yeah.
It'd be like, this is Aqua Suit Batman, but you don't need to see it in the cartoon, but you can buy it.
Yeah.
That's how they approached it. But, man, that show, it still holds up. You can watch it on DC Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I love DC Universe. They have that on there. Did you watch it on DC Universe?
I haven't. I haven't yet.
Okay. You would love that subscription, dude. And they have tons of comics on there.
I have to check that
but,
out.
Yeah, I love it too, but
I want to check it out just to watch Swamp Thing because that was filmed across the street from my house.
That's right, huh?
Yep.
But if you get it, you get a lot of bonus stuff too, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what's cool about it. Let's talk about the first movie, though, animated film in that line, and that's Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh.
And talk about sexual innuendos in that movie.
Yeah, and talk about the biggest plot twist.
Yeah.
To find out who the Mask of the Phantasm was. I was like, whoa.
And you know what's funny about that, too, is when I watched it as a kid, I didn't realize that Batman and that chick slept together.
Yeah.
But then I watched it, like, did they fucking have sex? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Because, like, she's just wearing a T-shirt or something, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about it is that movie was in theaters. Like, that was a theatrical movie.
I never saw it. It's funny. Siskel and Ebert, they reviewed it, and they called it the best Batman movie out at the time.
I could see that.
Because what's cool about it is they went back and, like, around the time Batman Forever had come out, Mask of the Phantasm had been out already, right?
Mm-hmm.
They went back and watched it on VHS, and they're like, we regret not reviewing this at the time.
Oh, yeah. Massive Phantasm, like, it floors Batman Forever. Totally polar opposite.
That's not hard to do.
I mean, they're totally polar opposite movies. It's almost like not even based off the same thing. It's weird when you think about it.
Batman Forever is a guilty pleasure for me, though, man. It's bad, but
yeah, for me too. Hell, I say Batman Forever and Batman and Robin both are not especially Batman and Robin. It's not that good, but when I watch those movies, I get in a different time frame. To me, it's almost like a modernized, campy Batman.
It's like a modernized '60s version, if you really think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to the cartoons, though, did you know what Batman had a follow-up cartoon, and that was Superman.
Mm-hmm.
The animated series, and I love that show too.
On the WB, it was right after freaking Earthworm Jim. I remember watching it,
and it's good.
Yeah,
it was real good. And that's the one that really, it was set in the same universe as Batman the Animated Series, but it did something that Batman the Animated Series didn't do too much of. And that was expand the world outside of Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
Because they introduced Green Lantern in it, the Flash. The only character that they introduced in Batman the Animated Series was Zatanna.
Yeah.
Because they had a whole episode on Zatanna. But that show really expanded it, and then and then after that we got Batman Beyond, which leads to one of the other best Batman cartoons, and that's Return of the Joker.
Yeah, that was actually one of the ones
Oh,
on my list. Like I really like that movie. And there's actually two different
oh,
versions of that movie.
like an uncensored one, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, where they show the Joker's death or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that movie's fucked up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, to see
Yeah.
see like freaking Robin, I think it wasn't Dick Grayson, it wasn't Jason Todd, it was the other boy. He was the one
Oh,
that pretty much got turned into
yeah.
the Joker.
Tim Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that was a hell of a movie. And then, of course, we got the Justice League series. We got to do a show on just these animated shows
Yeah.
in one of these days. But then you got Justice League Unlimited, and then DC animation kind of went the way of the dodo. But then they started doing these animated films,
Mm-hmm.
and man, are these animated films are fucking awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like the DC animated films are so good because I feel like they get so much more freedom with the animated universe. Like they don't have to rely on CG. They can mold and do the things they do. Because I mean, could you imagine a movie like, say, the Flash Paradox, Flashpoint? Could you imagine if they were trying to do that with CG? Like some of those fights with, Wonder Woman and Aquaman's, planets when they're at war, like seeing that sort of fight in a CG mode, it would not be as good as seeing it animated like that.
I agree. I
Mhm.
mean, with the animated films, you could do so much more. It's always that old adage, like, why did we watch Japanese anime in the early 90s? Because we get things that could not be filmed in live action.
Yeah,
I mean, and even at that, they say today anything's filmable. I guess that's true, but for some reason, in animation, you could still do more.
yeah, and it just something about, and I guess it's because it's from comics. It just feels more organic.
Mm-hmm.
I just enjoy the DC animated movies so much. Like one of my favorites is of course Batman Under the Red Hood.
Oh,
Love
that's a
that
good
one.
one.
Love it. And what's funny is, of course, Mark Hamill didn't do the voice of the Joker in that one. The guy who did the voice of the Joker was the same guy who did the voice of Bender and Waka from Final Fantasy X. And I thought
Oh
he did.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
he did a really good Joker. It was a different take on that Joker character, like his voice. He wasn't trying to mimic Mark Hamill, like say like Troy Baker, like when he did the Joker, which is almost spot on for Mark Hamill. But he did it in his own style. It was almost like a mixture of like Mark Hamill meets Heath Ledger in some ways, the way his mannerisms were. But I really liked it. Really liked
Yeah,
that movie.
yeah, that one's really damn good. I mean, that was like the fifth one, I think, but they kept pumping them out. They used to do 2 a year, then now they're doing three. I think they're doing four now.
Oh wow.
Because I know there's a Wonder Woman one coming out next.
Did
But
you?
anyway, back.
I was like,
Oh, go ahead.
Did you watch the Wonder Woman animated movie?
Yes, that one's real good.
It was.
Yeah, that one was real fucking good. I like that one. I liked what else do we got? Batman Under the Red Hood was real good. Um,
All
New
Star.
Frontiers real good.
I say All Star Superman.
I like that one, but it's too condensed from the comic book for
Hmm.
me. It's good. It's a good adaptation for the time that they had, but the comic book's a 12 issue whatchamacallit, 12 issue miniseries, and I like that one. It's just that they cut out a little too much.
Ah.
They could have done that one as a two-parter.
Yeah, because I really liked All Star Superman because it was such a reflective film. That's what I liked about that.
Yes.
Also, I will say the Suicide Squad animated movie trumped the live action movie. It's a lot
I agree
better.
with that.
It was a lot
I
better.
agree with that. That was a good one. Assault on Arkham.
Hmm.
Yeah. What about Gods and Monsters? Did you like that one?
I haven't seen that one.
That one's interesting. because it's different takes on Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Okay.
So, like, for example, Batman in that one is actually Man-Bat. It's not Bruce Wayne.
Okay, so
It's
they're all like monsters in this one?
No, not necessarily, because I have to rewatch it again. It's been a while, but like Superman's different and Wonder Woman's different, and so is Batman. That's why it's called Gods and Monsters.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what Justice League movie I saw that I really liked. It was where they were fighting the other universe, and you had Owlman instead of like as Batman.
Crisis on Two Earths.
Yes, that one was really good. And you know that one was originally it was just supposed to be just a setup for a new cartoon series, but it ended up becoming like a whole movie, and it was really really good.
It's a damn good one. I mean, they really reached into the depths of DC's history and really pulled them out. And they're at the point where they remade their very first DC animated film, which is The Death of Superman.
Yeah,
was their first one.
I still need to watch that.
And then they remade it into The Death of Superman and The Reign of the Superman, that two-parter that came out late last year and early this year. And I watched that one, and that one's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I also really liked Dark Knight Returns. That one. It was a two-parter. I like the second part a little bit more. I like the second movie a little bit more than the first one, but it's really good. And of course, Batman Year One, which was really interesting because you had Bryan Cranston playing Lieutenant Gordon, and you had Homeboy who plays Lieutenant Gordon in Gotham do the voice of Batman, which I thought that was kind of interesting. You know,
I forgot about Bryan Cranston as Gordon.
It was really good. He did a good job.
Yeah, and you know what? That one's almost probably, I would argue, the most accurate comic book movie adaptation ever made. It's almost, if I remember it, it's almost frame by frame exactly. And it's paced exactly the same way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I read Year One so many times, and it's so weird that it's so identical to the movie. So, it's a good one.
Now, because we're getting to like the midway part, we're almost out of time. But I wanted to get into like say Anthony, and I do this sometimes on my podcast with Excess Gaming. I do this to James sometimes, and I want to ask you this, okay? Hypothetically, we're inside of a video rental store. On Excess Gaming is always a game store. But you're inside this video store. You're inside Blockbuster or whatever, and this guy comes up to you, and he's like, hey, I listened to the show. I really like DC animated films. What's 2 DC animated films that I really need to watch? And you have to explain why. Okay.
Well, one would be Flashpoint Paradox. Because that one is a really good setup. It's just a well-told movie story. It's time travel. It's almost Days of Future Past-esque, X-Men wise. And it is a good movie. You don't really need to know a whole lot to get into that one. Yeah, and then after that, I would recommend Justice League War because it sets up the new continuity created by Flashpoint. And it's a good follow-up film. And it sets up a lot of the tone of these other movies that have come out.
Yeah, and I was about to say what's really cool about Flashpoint too is the take on Bruce Wayne's father. The way they take with that, you know, using like a what if Bruce Wayne was the one who died in that alley instead of his parents. And I don't want to spoil it. I know the movie's been out for a while, but I'm hoping that some of the folks that are listening that have not given the DC Universe films a chance would go out and watch it. Because, I mean, I think you agree with me that a lot of quote-unquote comic book fans probably haven't seen a lot of the DC movies that we're talking about.
No, they haven't. They're popular enough for them to keep pumping them out, though. But a lot of people just haven't seen them. It's like someone who likes the Flash, you're like, I want more Flash stuff. Well, go watch some of these films.
Yeah, and I think some of it, too, is probably like the same reason like our first impressions when we saw that Batman versus Ninja Turtles were coming out. I think a lot of people, they see these movies, and they see them in the kids section at Walmart, and they think it's just a kiddie movie. It's just some movie for, you know, little Timmy to watch while mom and dad do whatever.
Oh, no, not these. Some of them are R-rated.
Yeah.
Killing Joke's R-rated, and so is Justice League Dark.
Mm-hmm.
That one's rated R as well. So yeah, they're not kiddie films. Most of them are PG-13. They've said fuck in it in a couple of them. They've said shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not for kids.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think maybe you know what?
No, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was about to say.
I was just gonna say maybe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I just think. I think what it is a lot of folks that are a little older see a cartoon movie, and they automatically assume that it's going to be something that they would have watched when they were kids, that it's for a younger generation. But that's not necessarily the case when it comes to the animated universe.
I think the thing with these movies that appeal to me the most is, I think there needs to be more adult animation in this vein. Mm-hmm. Why did we gravitate towards films like the aforementioned Akira or Ninja Scroll or Ghost in the Shell? Because they were grown-up cartoon movies. Now, when we think of grown-up cartoon, I know they're anime. Fuck, someone's going to crucify me over that. But it's the same fucking thing ultimately in the end. Here's the deal. Why did we gravitate towards those? Because they're mature animated films. Whenever anyone says grown-up cartoon, they think Family Guy and shit. That's grown-up comedy. And there's tons of those shows. What we need is more mature animated films. And that's why I like the DC films, because they are mature animated films. Yeah. And even outside of Japan, we don't see much of that coming from Japan anymore. We don't see Akiras or anything like that really anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. But
but that's why I'm glad that we have these DC animated films.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need more adult animation in this vein.
Oh yeah, I agree. And like I said, folks, I know Anthony's mentioned it a couple of times, but check out the DC. What is it? The DC Universe app.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. I mean, I know Anthony told me either it was the last episode or it was after we recorded, but you have a 7-day trial. I mean, check it out. Watch some of these movies. Check out some of the comics. Like you said, they add some special goodies for being a subscriber. It's not just Netflix with capes.
Well, the comic book library on there. Let me reiterate. When it came out last year, the comic book library was pretty weak until April, and they just unloaded pretty much the entire DC library on there.
Nice.
And it functions. It's in the comic book section. It's very similar to what Marvel has with Marvel Unlimited. The thing with Marvel Unlimited is it's $10 a month. You pretty much have access to the entire Marvel library, which is fine by me because I like old Marvel. The problem with the Marvel library, though, not with Marvel Unlimited, is you don't get movies or anything like that. With DC Universe, you also get movies and animated series on there. Mm-hmm. So that's what's great about it. And they do something similar with Marvel Unlimited. Marvel Unlimited, with new issues, they release issues 6 months behind. So the newest issue you'll get of, like, say, X-Men, you'll get the issue that was released 6 months ago, next month, it keeps going like that. DC Universe does it a year apart. So new issues that were new in July of 2018, you'll get right away in fucking DC Universe.
That's awesome.
And I understand why they do that delay. Mm-hmm. I get it, because they want you to buy the comics as they come out.
Right.
And if you really want to read them, you could go out and buy the trade and you can get ahead and such. But the old library is there, and pretty much the old library is fantastic. It's just a treasure trove. I mean, if you want to read Dark Knight Returns, it's on there.
Yeah.
Year one, it's on there. Crisis on Infinite Earths, I could keep going on. So there, you need to check it out, Xander. When you have time.
Yeah, I'm definitely check it out. Definitely.
When you do, we won't necessarily do an episode follow-up, but we'll kind of do what I did with the Ninja Turtles this episode.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, I think this wraps up another episode of Blast Podcasting. Anything, last things you want to say, Anthony?
Well, let's get to episode 30.
Yeah, indeed.
We really, just in hindsight, it's almost been a year, and we've had a lot of great support for the show, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm proud of the show. It's a fun show. I keep having fun doing it. And when you're not having fun, we'll stop when we're not having fun, but I don't think that'll ever happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the way it always should be. Like, whether you're doing podcasting or YouTubing, and I tell a lot of folks. I mean, a lot of us do this because it's a hobby. It's something we enjoy doing. And with that being said, there's no actual obligation. So when it's not fun anymore, then it's time to move on and not kill yourself trying to keep doing it. But with that being said, I'm having a blast. With Blast podcasting.
Same here. And I am, dude, after discussing what possibly our anniversary episode is going to be, which is going to be a double-sized episode, right?
Yeah.
Man, you guys are going to love it. And Xander and I are going to have a lot of fucking fun doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll let you know what that is as plans approach, but we have some great shows planned for you in the next couple months leading up to our anniversary show, which is what, October?
Yeah.
Damn, a whole year, Castlevania.
Yeah, that's where it all started.
Yeah. Season 2. Any word on season 3?
I haven't heard anything yet. I mean, they said that it was confirmed season 3, but they haven't said when, so I'm hoping maybe it's October again. Maybe we'll hear something about it in September.
Yeah, Netflix is weird.
Yeah. Netflix will come out of nowhere just like, oh, here's season 3 right now in its entirety. Like overnight. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
They do that.
Yeah. Well, we do have plans with other Netflix shows, though.
Yeah.
Hint, hint. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole episode. We're going to do a whole episode on Gilmore Girls.
Yes! Yes, the best show ever. It's better than Evangelion. I've never seen an episode of it. I don't. Have you seen an episode of the Gilmore Girls?
Dude, I've watched the whole fucking series with my girlfriend.
What? Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm being serious.
End the show real quick. Did you enjoy it or no?
Yeah, it was actually really good. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
It's very witty. If you like witty writing, you'd like it. But it's very girly. It's it's not something I got. If it wasn't for my girlfriend, I would have never watched it. But it was one of those things. Like, she was like, she loves Gilmore Girls, and she was like, we're gonna watch this. And I started getting attached to the character development, and there was parts of the show I actually got pissed off. But anyway.
Anyway, well, I don't think. Look, I'm a very happy bachelor these days, as you know. So I won't be watching the Gilmore Girls. But if I ever do end up in your situation, we will do it. I don't know if maybe as an April Days Fool trick or something. April Fool's trick.
Catch you tongue tied through Gilmore Girls.
I know,
what the fuck?
Well, you said witty writing. I'm obviously not being witty, so.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I think that's going to wrap up the episode right there.
Yeah. Oh, greatest ending ever.
Indeed. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening, and we'll be blasting off to the next episode.